What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. Sherdog.com is the website. I am the host, Devin, and we are back with another episode. I'm doing the thing where I apologize for taking a week off last week, but it was my birthday. I did not, unfortunately, get to recap the Bilal Muhammad JDM card. Really good fight. One of the better title fights of the year so far, actually. Anyone that said Bilal Muhammad's a boring fighter, wrong. He fought his ass off, and maybe not the best game plan fight. So I kind of had to eat my words a little bit. I was wrong there. But we're on to more things. I was going to say bigger and better, but I don't think this fight was bigger or better. This past weekend, we had Gilbert Burns fighting Michael Morales. We're going to talk about a few of those fights, and then no fights this weekend. We got a weekend off, which is cool. Memorial Day. Shout out to all of the people that gave the give their lives for our country. They gave the biggest thing they could give. So shout out to them. Thank you to all of them for doing that. We got Memorial Weekend coming up, week off, so that'll be cool. I'm going to go probably do some fishing and go hang out with the chick and go out into nature and go do cool stuff. If you live in the United States, I hope you get out there and do something cool this weekend. And if you don't, I hope you also get out there and do something cool this weekend. First fight we're going to talk about the main event from this past weekend over in the Apex. Pretty decent Apex card all around. We saw a key lock finish from Luana Santos moving up a division. That was kind of interesting. Women's bantamweight is just basically men's heavyweight. Pretty cool fights. I feel like I'm missing one of them. I guess the Nursultan Ruzaboa fight was pretty good, but the three fights we're going to talk about, I think, were some of the most interesting and the coolest fights. First fight we're going to talk about is the Michael Morales Gilbert Burns, and Michael Morales did defeat Gilbert Burns via first round knockout. I'm never going to be someone to say like a fighter needs to retire, but Gilbert Burns looked real bad here. Michael Morales looked great. So I think it was definitely a combination of the two, Gilbert Burns maybe being at the end of the road and quite frankly, he could be washed by now. Like, look at the last four fights. Yeah, he's fought a bunch of good dudes, but he's getting finished, and he's never been a very durable guy. Gilbert Burns has been hurt and finished in a lot of his fights. So, 38 years old, 4-fight lose streak. And here he is with another one, unfortunately. And it was kind of like close on the feet, just like up until it wasn't anymore, which is kind of like a real Michael Morales fight where he's just like having this fight with his opponent. And it's kind of just like all of his fights just seem to be like an anybody's fight too, where it's like he's not really pressing it to make it the fight that he needs it to be. This the same way he did Neil Magny is, he didn't say the Neil Magny finish is even more violent than this one, but this is a pretty darn violent finish. The kid moves on to 18-0, the young Ecuadorian. Gilbert Burns got one takedown, and Michael Morales was able to get up really easy, and Gilbert Burns had more success grappling JDM than he did Michael Morales. Michael Morales seems to be big for this division. Supposedly he ballooned back up to like 196 pounds, I believe, after the fight. But that, it's 2025. That's how big welterweights are. I'd love to see how big Joaquin Buckley is. He's huge. That move down. We spoke about Nursultan Ruzaboa. That dude's like literally 6'5", and he fought at welterweight. He looked terrible physically. Either way. So yeah, he's a big, powerful kid for the division. He's got good punching power. He's very tenacious, and he's got real stick-to-itiveness where he hasn't. He fights like a young dude that's not 30, that's 18-0. That's got a lot of finishes. Like, that's exactly how he fights, and that's great. Very like Shavkat Rakhmonov type vibes. Like, kind of want to see Michael Morales take a big test against a dude that's like proven and not older, where there's going to be no excuses, because this is a great finish by Gilbert. The way he just crushed him against the cage, hurt him with that cross, and then like from then it was just done. But I want to see him fight a dude where there's like not going to be an asterisk attached to the fight of like, is Gilbert Burns old and washed? I mean, I'm not going to say that he's old and washed, but like, it's been years since he was getting finished by Dan Hooker down at 155, and he's like come up, fought for a title, got knocked out in that fight by Usman, had some success in that fight too. But we're far removed from like the way he like crushed Demi and Maya with that check hook. So I want to see Michael Morales fight a dude that's not older and that's kind of, up and coming. He called out Ian Gary. That's not going to happen. The UFC is known for taking their toys and smashing them against. And again, the UFC is known for banging their toys against each other, but I don't think they'll do that with this one. I think they really want Ian Gary to fight for a title, and I don't think they've already had him fight Shavkat Rakhmonov, and he lost that fight. I don't think they're going to give him something like that again. I do think the Michael Morales fight's much more winnable for him than Shavkat was. And I might not love Ian Gary as a personality, but I'd also be a fool to think that he's not a good fighter. And he, yeah, so I think, I think they keep him away from Ian Gary. They'll probably try to book him against someone like Bilal Muhammad, which he is also older, but he is, just coming off of a title fight loss where he lost, but he didn't look terrible. I don't think he had the best game plan, but I don't think he looked terrible against Jack Della Maddalena. Quite frankly, I think he fought his ass off. He just wasn't good enough that night. So I think they'll probably do something like that. If they want him fighting for a title, it's pretty, welterweight's kind of starting to become log jammed at the top with all of these young new contenders, which makes things pretty fun, actually. Maybe they'll give him the winner of Joaquin Buckley and Usman. Totally could happen. And I don't know if the UFC is like running to give Usman a title fight if he figures out how to beat Joaquin Buckley. And if Joaquin Buckley figures out how to beat Usman, there's still a logjam. Like there's plenty of guys like Sean Brady is in my opinion probably the number one contender and probably should be meritocratically. Leon Edwards is out there. I think that's another really good fight for Michael Morales. And sitting here and thinking about it, I think the Leon Edwards fight's the makes the most sense. Leon Edwards has not fought as well as he should have fought in his backyard several times in a row. I don't think the UFC is going to be running to make it Leon Edwards a main event again in the UK anywhere. So I think that's really the fight to make. Have Michael Morales fight Leon Edwards. And as for Gilbert Burns, if the UFC wants to give him another fight, the only fight that makes sense for him is Colby Covington, and I actually think Colby would take that fight. Before this fight started, I was like, man, Gilbert Burns would probably crush Colby Covington, but now I just have no idea. Like, Colby Covington's pretty washed, but like Gilbert Burns might be even more. Who knows? In their primes, Gilbert Burns is probably always a tough fight for someone like Colby, like a really hard-hitting dude that's a good grappler that like will fight with pressure, but I don't know what to expect from Gilbert Burns if he fights again. Definitely has more heart than his little brother Herbert, but I feel bad for the guy continuously going out on his shield and getting hurt in this many fights. I've always liked Gilbert Burns, really fun action fighter, but not including all of his crazy BJJ pre-UFC experience, he's got a hell of a lot of fights and he's not young. Great win for Michael Morales, and hopefully Gilbert Burns can get one more and get one back. Moving down to the undercard, we're going to pass the co-main event, the Sadiq Yusuff fight. That fight wasn't that great, especially this, for a random Apex card with 11 fights due to a herpes pullout. really wasn't that bad. Really weird circumstances with the Rodolfo Bellator Paul Craig fight to like 1 hour before the fight starts. Like he pulls out and then he makes his video where he's like, I have herpes and I can't fight. I never thought that would take me out of a fight. Weird situation. Whatever. Hope he gets better, I guess. We're going to talk about probably the best fight on the card. We're going to talk about the Melquizael Costa fight, where he took on Julian Erosa. He defeated Julian Erosa in just a fucking, I mean, this is why people should be fans of Julian Erosa and Melquizael Costa, Melky Costa. They both have good ass fights, especially Julian Erosa. Not only is he from the state that I live in, even though it's a different part of the state, shout out to him. Melky Costa is on a hell of a streak, 4 fights, kicking ass. In this fight, he really hurt Erosa like in the first round with like head kicks and stuff like that. And Erosa just like stayed on the pressure and was like still getting clipped with like counter boxing from Melky. And then Erosa started realizing that he could take Costa down and started like having success with the takedowns in the second. And then by the third round, he's like pressuring Costa and like hitting him with big winging shots. Just a cool fight. Like, I do believe they got fight of the night bonus as well. So like Julian Erosa is just like a bonus collecting machine. There was one year where he like bought a house with just like one fight because he got like 2 bonuses because like one of his opponents missed weight and they got fight of the night. I think it was Steven Peterson. Pretty sure that's right. Where he just got doubled up on bonuses. Erosa, man, the dude like came to the UFC, left the UFC, like went to Cage Warriors and fought Patty Pimblett of like all people, like on a weird ass side quest over there. Dude's been in and out of the UFC like 3 times, and now he is here, even though he's losing. Like it's hard losing this fight. Like it's hard for me to not sing his praises. And the same from Melky Costa. Melky Costa looked great, dude. This guy is kind of an overachiever, if you ask me. Beaten a lot of good dudes and he deserves a step up. I would like to see Erosa should just stay doing like old dude fights. He came off of a fight, his most recent bout before this, against Darren Elkins, where he like beat the shit out of Elkins. So this is kind of a quicker turnaround for him, but probably just like never left camp. So that's got to be pretty hard on him, especially, him with his tenure. He's been in the game for a while. But for Melky, like he should fight just any up and coming banger. Like Steve Garcia and him would probably have like a really good ass fight. Like Edson Barbosa and him would probably have like a good ass fight. I'm pretty sure he's gonna have a good ass fight with anybody, just because he's fun and he's not young in his career, but he's still in his athletic prime. I don't think he'll ever. Yeah, he may get into like the top 15 of this division, which is saying a lot because like if you look at the champions of 145, all of the champs could be like on anyone's MMA route, Mount Rushmore, like Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski. Like your 145 is deep water. Like some of the GOATs, literally some of the greatest of all times have come from this division. They're all like belt holding dudes back to back. It's incredible. So I don't think Melky's going to reach that high, but shit, who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe he could figure out a way to fight someone like Brian Ortega or something like that. Maybe he could get himself a fight with, I don't think he'd be fighting someone like Pitbull, but like maybe I think Steve Garcia or like Edson Barbosa would be fun though. Make that happen. Give him Steve Garcia. I think he's got a bout coming up, but just regardless, let him fight Steve Garcia. That dude's on a hell of a knockout streak. I think both of those guys matched up would be super fun. Moving on to probably one of my favorite performances of the night, and he did not get a $50,000 bonus. We had Jared Gordon destroying Thiago Moises in a way that, a lot of people have beaten Thiago Moises and a lot of people have finished him. But man, Jared Gordon looked really good, and I don't want to say he made it look easy, but kind of made it look easy. That counter overhand right that he crushed Moises through a lead hook, and Jared Gordon just kind of like leaned back with his guard up and like kind of like just didn't catch the punch and fire, but just beautifully timed overhand right as, Moises' shot was almost hitting his guard. He threw the overhand right and just crushed Moises and then finished him with some really violent ground and pound. Caught Moises' first kick and took him down like right away and established top position. They're both kind of trading. Um, During the fight, Paul Felder was like, "There's blood, but I don't know who's cut." And I did see blood on both of their faces. And I'm sure Thiago got his nose busted up or something with those ground and pound shots in the finish. But like Jared Gordon might have gotten cut from like an upward elbow off the bottom, but that's really like all Moises got off. Maybe one leg kick, but not really even that. Um, Jared Gordon looked fast here. Like if you look at him, he's like a very, I don't want to call him underwhelming, but you look at him and he doesn't look like Michael Chandler for a shorter lightweight. He could totally be a 445 or two. But he's on a hell of a streak. Like, even the Patty fight that he lost, like he looked really, really good and he looked really fucking good. Really freaking good against Thiago Moises here. Like just flattened him. And if I was a Thiago Moises fan, or if I was Thiago Moises' camp or himself, I'd be pretty worried about what the future holds based off of what he looked in this fight. Because he did not look great. I like that Jared Gordon was circling away from Thiago Moises' power when they were in the stand-up. I loved the takedown. He got it with ease. Everybody talks about how Moises is this like super high-level black belt, but he's been destroyed off of his back, and I think Jared Gordon knew that, hey, I can take this dude down and he'll accept bottom position. And I think that takedown is what kind of helped him set up his hands. But boy, that power and that knockout was flush. Jared Gordon's got his boxing has really, really improved, man. Like he looked okay against Bobby Green. He looked pretty damn good against Patty Pimblett. He looked good here. Like even that Nasrat Haqparast fight that I think kind of did not go the right way for him. He still looked pretty good there. And these are all dudes that are like known for having good hands and good boxing. And he's out here. This was a pick'em fight, and he fucking smoked Moises. Like, there's not even a lot to say about it. He looked really, really good. He deserves just an upward opportunity, and we're far removed from him getting like iced by Charles Oliveira. I don't think he should be fighting dudes like Charles Oliveira, but he totally deserves like he should fight someone like Jim Miller. Like they're both like dudes that are kind of undersized for the division, both dudes that are like not super athletic, but that was great. And like, when was the last time we saw him flat someone like this? He knocked out Marco Madsen like third round of their fight due to like attritive damage and stuff. But this was him like using his boxing and counterpunching and his vision and his power, and he fucking crushed Moises. It was really dope. Like I have high hopes for him moving forward. I'd love to see him, keep him away from someone like Grant Dawson. I don't think this guy's going to make it into the top 15 just because it's fucking lightweight. And he's pretty undersized for the division. Maybe if they make him fight Michael Chandler, he'd probably have success in that fight, because I don't think Michael Chandler should be even in the top 15 right now. But yeah, like just lightweight's full of cool dudes. Like have him fight someone that's like on the top 20. Have him fight like Drew Dober or Manuel Torres or Matt Frivola or Faris Ziem. Like any of those fights would be really good for him. Maybe like an Ismail Bonfim even, or like a Nazim Sadiakov. For Thiago Moises, he needs his problem is now he's in the position where like the UFC doesn't need him. And he has a semi-tiny name, but he's got a long tenure in the UFC at this point, where like I think they'll just like use his name to like build up a up and comer. Like I would not be surprised if he gets stuck fighting like a Daniel Zellhuber or like an Esteban Ribovics, someone that's like young and upcoming. That would totally make all the sense in the world if they do that for him, unfortunately. But great win for Jared Gordon, and that wraps up the first segment of the show. And moving on to the second segment of the show. What's hot? A couple topics we're going to talk about. First one we're going to talk about is Jon Jones. He is making his rounds. He's making his rounds on the media right now, whether he is just as of today, a little bit ago, there's a bunch. I'm recording this on Monday in the early afternoon at about 3 p.m. PT. And I've been seeing a bunch of stuff as I'm recording this. My phone's kind of going off, and I'm seeing him telling someone on this Russian Ultimate Fighter show that he's done fighting. I guess I'm not going to name the guy because I'd probably mispronounce his name anyway, but I'm sure you could just go find it on Twitter when you're listening to us. If you listen to the show, you've probably already seen it, but it's some Russian fighter that he's having a back and forth with via FaceTime, and he basically tells the guy, like, I'm done, that he's not fighting anymore. So whether he is tweeting people and saying that he's living a happy life, or he's riding bareback on a moped scooter holding some guy's hairs like a handlebar, I don't think we're going to see Jon Jones again. My topic of this discussion is, will we ever see Jon Jones again? I don't think so, guys. I really don't. There's been a multitude of tweets and him going live this past week where he said, people say I'm ducking, but I'm just out here living my best life. This Jon Jones is just like a far cry from the dude that was running through, I'm in my mid 30s now. I'll just tell everyone I just turned 34 years old. I'm almost in my mid 30s, I guess. This is my mid 30s, whatever. Life's crazy. Holy shit. But I remember, being significantly younger and like watching Jon Jones come up through the rankings, and like he was I'll fight anybody at any time, taking on all these young contenders, him being a young contender himself. And this is just like a far cry from that dude, where like he was done when he fought Stipe. The only reason why he fought Stipe, in my opinion, was because he knew that it was a very winnable fight that he probably didn't have to go too hard for. But like anybody with a set of eyes that's been watching this sport for a long enough time can go. I recently went back and watched the Jon Jones and Stipe fight. Kind of had an idea that I wanted to talk about this a little bit on the show, and I went back and watched that fight. Go back and watch that fight. Like, yeah, Stipe got finished and like he got hurt in that fight a lot, but like there was way too many moments that Stipe had on the feet where like Jon Jones is like turning his back and like running from Stipe, getting caught in the pocket from Stipe with like uppercuts while they were closing the distance. Like Jon Jones is a man that has watched tons and tons of tape. He's one of the like main fighters that's from the beginning that's been preaching the importance of tape study. Excuse me, I need to wet the whistle. There's no way Jon Jones hasn't watched back his Stipe Miocic fight several times. And there's no way anybody that has been watching this sport can watch that version of Jon Jones and watch any Tom Aspinall tape and not be able to find the places for someone like Tom Aspinall to capitalize on, because Jon Jones has probably done it himself. There's no way Jon Jones hasn't watched that fight back. He's probably watched it more times than me, you, or anyone listening to this, because that's how he is. Number one, I also think he's a little bit narcissistic, and he probably is that type of guy that will win a fight and like watch the replay 100 times whenever he's feeling down and out. He's like, let me go watch my Alexander Gustafsson spinning elbow replay, but if you're listening to the show, you guys know what a hungry UFC champion looks like. Look at Islam Makhachev, who has no reason to move to 170. And he's like, yeah, I want it. I want all the smoke. And Jon Jones did do it, but like everything lately has been really on his terms. He said that he told the UFC what he wants, and he doesn't understand why they're not telling him. I really think what we're seeing here, guys, is the same thing when Dana White was like, when he took Khabib out to lunch like 60 times and was like, hey, I think he's doing those same types of negotiations. But he learned from Khabib that he needs to just do those on more of like a hush-hush type of deal. But yeah, I don't think, come on, like Jon Jones is not carrying himself like the UFC heavyweight champion. He never really carried himself like a champion, which is great. That's one of the great things about him. But he's not, he doesn't want that smoke from any of these dudes, it doesn't seem like. And you can go watch the Stipe fight. Like, pause this show, go watch it back, and then just go watch, like, you can go watch the last 5 Tom Aspinall fights in like 10 minutes. Just go do that real quick and just go watch the Stipe fight. And I mean, again, Ray Charles could see the openings there for someone like Tom Aspinall. And if I can see them, I know Jon Jones sees them, and I know he's watched tape, and I know he's watched that fight back more times than I have. And he knows way more about tape study than I could ever imagine. So if there's things that I see, he's probably seeing more. And that's fine. The dude has freaking paid his dues. Like, yeah, the dude's totally paid his dues. But like at this point, you know, Tom Aspinall's like, I'm done negotiating with this dude. Like, just make me any fight and I'll take it. Like, because come on, like the champ should do. There's a bunch of stuff about like stripping him of the title, which like, come on, that's a totally. I mean, it's the UFC. This is not a meritocracy. Like special fighters get special treatment, and if anyone's a special fighter, it's Jon Jones, and he's had his fair share of special treatment. They moved. I remember a couple of years ago during that Gustafsson rematch, they moved the whole event from Vegas to California, the picogram. You know, just dude, realize you've had more than your fair shake, Jon Jones. Just give it up, bro. Like if you're not gonna fight, just give it up. Don't hold up the division. And if you're gonna fight the interim champion. Because it's not an undisputed belt. Neither one of them are true champions. They're both disputed. And I have a bunch more to say, but there's not, you know, we'll get more towards slander if I start talking about Jon Jones. I'm just kidding. But I don't have a bunch more to say. I just don't think he's going to fight again. You know, especially where he's coming out and he's like, I'm not ducking. I'm living my best life. That's to me refusing to fight the interim champion while you're the undisputed champion, but you're not the disputed champion, and like purposely pricing yourself out of a fight. Like, dude, the fight's there. Like the fight could happen like with one phone call. Dana would 3-way Tom Aspinall. The fight could happen. I mean, it's a 10-minute negotiation if the price is right, but if you're telling them a number that is so crazy that you know they're not going to pay, then you're pricing yourself out on purpose. And I think that's kind of what's happening. I really think Jon Jones is just purposely pricing him out. There's been times where Dana White has said Jon Jones deserves Deontay Wilder money. And quite frankly, he does. Like, he's made a fuck ton of money for the UFC. All these fighters deserve more money. But like, that would, you know, what he is doing is just like me asking my employer for I don't know, just like triple my salary or I'm leaving. They're going to be like, sorry, bro. Hate to see you go. We're not tripling your salary. So yeah, that's my opinion on Jon Jones. In the comments below, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if Jon Jones is ever going to return to fight. I really, really doubt it. I think he's pricing himself out, which is fine. He deserves that. He deserves all the money in the world, and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't have anything to prove. What I do think is happening, though, is I do think this behavior is kind of, unfortunately, tarnishing his legacy more than if he would have just shut up and taken it. But I totally understand the game he's playing. Please let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Reach out to me. These are my social media handles on Twitter and Instagram. You can hit me up there. Tell me what you think. Moving on to the last topic. During the broadcast this weekend, we had an announcement come up. Another PFL dropout / dude that's asked for their release. Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix is now a UFC bantamweight. He is coming into the division. He is actually replacing Marlon Chito Vera, who dropped out of this fight short notice. I don't know if Chito really dropped out. We need to find out more. Maybe I'm missing something, but like, this could also totally be one of those things where it's like, hey, dude, Patchy Mix is coming to the UFC. We want him to fight Mario Bautista. We're going to give you X amount of dollars to pull out of this fight. Could totally be something like that too. I think this is a better fight. I really like Chito, but I mean, Cheeto's been in the UFC for a freaking billion years, and there's been so much drama surrounding Patchy Mix. There's been, you know, during that bantamweight Grand Prix that Bellator held, he's probably the best bantamweight in the world at that time. Just, you know, beating Kyoji Horiguchi, the Rafael Stotts knee that he crushed him with, and you know, squeezing Magomed's head off in that submission. You know, but since then, he hasn't fought since May of last year. So it's been a year since he's fought. The Bellator acquisition happened where they, you know, all merged to PFL. PFL really seems to be kind of dropping the ball with that, but whatever. That's up to them to figure out. I just don't think they're figuring it out. But no, Patchy Mix has now asked for his release. He's part of the UFC. He's fighting Mario Bautista. This is fucking huge, actually, for the bantamweight division. I know he's got sparring rounds in with Merab Dvalishvili. Patchy Mix is adamant that he is the best bantamweight in the world, and hell, I think he has the ability to make that argument. Why would I fight that against him? He's probably freaking right. Patchy Mix is incredible, bomb ass fighter, good ass fighter. So he's fighting Mario Bautista in a pretty short notice fight. I'm curious to see how this goes down. This will be taking place June 7th on UFC 316. And I wonder if one of these dudes, is going to be like a potential backup. Because I'm pretty sure that is the Merab Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley fight. So maybe Patchy Mix can figure out a way to make himself the backup fighter. We saw another big name dude, Michael Chandler, do that right when he came over. Let me see if I can find the odds really quickly. There should be betting odds for this. UFC 316 betting odds. And I'm doing this as I record, so that's not very professional. But I do think it's important for us to know this, guys. Patchy Mix is the favorite, -180. And Mario Bautista is coming back at +156. Again, I'm recording this on May 19th in the kind of early-ish afternoon, mid-afternoon. So that's subject to change, of course, and it probably will. But holy shit, Patchy Mix is the favorite against Mario Bautista. This dude is a hell of a grappler, a good wrestler. He's got decent striking, even though his last time out he won via splitty to Magomedov in that rematch where he didn't look awesome in that fight. So he's had a year to prepare. His spouse is Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana did not look good in her last fight, but that's a zero reflection of Patchy. But I think he's a dude that's like full in, he's all in. He is at the very peak of his, like, he's 31. So like, this is it for him. Like, this is his time. Like if he's going to make a run in the UFC, he cannot afford to like lose 2 fights or win this fight and then lose 2 in a row and then maybe go, and then come back after that and go on a 2-fight win streak. Like he can't do that. He's got to start like fucking clawing his way up the rankings. Like now he needs, if he wants to fight for a title, he needs to do it in his next 2 or 3 fights. So if he beats Mario Bautista, who, these are not the Sherdog rankings, these are just like the world rankings for the UFC. Sherdog, we rank all of the organizations since he's in the UFC. I'm just talking about his trajectory towards the title. But Mario Bautista is ranked about like number 9 in the world here. So above him is someone like Song Yadong, Cheeto, Davison Figueiredo, and then we're getting into the real fucking killers here. Corey Sandhagen, Petr Yan, Umar Nurmagomedov, Sean O'Malley, Merab Dvalishvili. I think what he needs to do is crush Mario Bautista, like go take him down, take his back, squeeze his head off, and then call for Corey Sandhagen or Petr Yan, or Umar Nurmagomedov. Holy shit, Patchy and Umar would be fucking incredible. I think if he goes out there and beats Mario Bautista, he can jump the likes of Song Yadong, Cheeto Vera, and Davy Figs. And I think for him, he needs to call out probably Umar, like, hey, Umar, you're the boogeyman of this division, blah, 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 whatever. You are the boogeyman of this division. I'm going to hand you your second loss. Or really call out Petr Yan or Corey Sandhagen. All of those dudes are, anyone. At 5 is Corey Sandhagen. At 4 is Petr Yan. At 3 is Umar Nurmagomedov. At 2 is Sean O'Malley, and then the champ of the world is Merab. Like, what a fucking top 5 of this division is really like dudes that could all just dudes that were the champion like less than a couple years ago, and dudes that could still be the champion and the champion. Like, it's crazy that the worst, I'm going to say the worst, but the worst of the 5 is Corey Sandhagen. Like, come on. So that's what he needs to do. Mario Bautista could totally win this fight too, guys. He's the dog here, but he's also a good fighter. Comes from the same camp as Sean O'Malley. Comes from a really good camp down in Arizona. He's a really good fighter. I know people hate him for his Jose Aldo fight, but don't get it twisted. Mario Bautista is great, but I'm really excited for Patchy Mix to finally be in the UFC. And that's the end of the show, guys. I really, really appreciate you all for tuning in. I might take the week off next week. I am not sure. It just depends. We have, it's going to be Memorial Day, so I might be out with the family. We do have that Macy Barber Aaron Blanchfield fight card coming up. But then we have UFC 316, which should be a really good ass card with the couple fights we talked about coming up on there. I'll definitely be doing something for that. And thank you so much for tuning in. Sherdog.com is a website. There's all my handles. Go there and hit me up. Thank you for listening and enjoy the fights and enjoy the weekend off. Memorial Day. Happy